Hello, hi everyone. Welcome back again to Research Elevator platform for another wonderful section. In the introduction, a bit of description telling you what a platform is. We had a lengthy discussion which was uploaded for you to engage. We discuss basically what research is. We drew many themes and concepts and ideas that could lead to diverse or could lead to all sorts of things, which we discussed yesterday. Very interesting, very basic, but you might think it's not. Quite often what we usually see is that the systematic arrangement of specific research are often not deeply or properly understood, or that they are not researched properly, they are not taught properly. Quite often we say we have books. Remember, in research, people have done works. You are not the first to do this. If it is your first time of try or attempting to research a specific topic or a specific issue or a demographic area or whatever is being handed to you, it could be your own personal research or that you are studying. There are people have done it before. Quite often, what we see is that that things are not discussed properly. Chapters, those systematic things we listed, we gave you example in the first, in the second, the conceptualization of research and its development. Those things, those systematic things we gave at the latter part of it, before going back to discuss the topic itself and how that could also pose a problem, which we would identify something here in this chapter. Usually, the chapters are not dealt with properly. They are not dealt with, they are not taught. The chapters must also be dealt with. So quite often when people get to research, they don't really bother too much because they know they have a series of work that they could find somewhere. Yes, most would rely on those things if you feel that you haven't had enough tutoring or enough information on chapters. But usually the chapters must be taught. The areas of the chapters must be deeply taught. In specific situation, it is taught in attempting to provide amount of things, amount of statements or a quantity of work to be done in specific chapters. So it must be taught. It must be taught properly. Once it is taught properly, it has its own advantage. It helps the student researcher or whoever is researching to enjoy research. Research, specifically at the academic level, is not an enjoyable pursuit. I'm not discouraging you, but I'm just saying it is one of the areas that is a bit daunting, can be challenging. And so, but when chapters, those systematic or sequential order in which things need to be presented are taught deeply and are understood, questions are asked, then it helps the researcher to gain a bit deeper insight into what they would be doing. they get grips of their own topic very well, they are able to correlate and to link things, and are able to produce a basic or simple, effective research that, on a whole, may not give all answers, but may elicit just a point or one thing that need addressing, or useful thing on a shelf somewhere that somebody could also fall on. There are millions and billions of research all over the places. So quite often when it happens this way, we then fall on things that are available, how things are done. But even with that, often what we notice is people do research though, but then they don't really comprehend their own research. You must comprehend it, you must master, you must understand it fully. It must move from the pure, and it must be applicable. It must be applicable to others out there, and to applicable to things. Often, many own work, things will be given. We know that, we understand these things. Just that's what we're discussing. It will give things, it will set standards, set guidelines, but they may not necessarily work. But when things are done in this manner, it ensures that something will be useful and something will work. And so one of the major issues I have come to identify too is that the systematic, because once it is an applied research, then it means that a research is coming to follow a specific order, isn't it? The systematic. So it then becomes an applied research. It has its objectives, what it intends to do, the intentions, the interventions, the objectives, and all those things, and what it attempts to do or what it will be doing. So when you understand the sequential order in which these things will be carried out, then it gives you a much better understanding of your own work. It also makes you to be able to identify other good works out there that you can lay hands on to help you progress, or books, and so on, and then so forth. It also gives you a bit of independency. So at what level, whatever level you are in control, and you have a bit of independence. You keep working till you meet whoever is your line manager, or who is looking at your work, or your tutors, wherever you are. So that is one thing I've noticed. Often the systematic order, the structure in which whoever is demanding, they must have a structure there. They must have a structure. Those structures are not dealt with properly, often before people set out to go and then collect things to begin to attempt to address issues. And so quite often a higher percentage of works will be done nicely there, but only done often without really figuring out why they are really done. The basic notion will be purposely done so that a specific academic ladder will be completed, and so quite often it discourages the interest. Research is very interesting. It must be made such that people are interested. When it gets to that area, people are interested in doing it. It has been a barrier to many, regardless of the frustration that we know. And so today we quickly will be looking at something. Chapter 1, chapter 1, which is the introduction of the study. We talked about these things, and we'll be looking at things around these areas or what it entails. This is a pure lecture trying to give a detailed account of what it is, how it looks like, a description. After this section, we would also then, after we have dealt with all the chapters or the sequential order in which the systematic order in which we explained yesterday, will be like sort of like a lecture, sort of like an introduction into a deeper insight, and then giving a bit of clue. And when these things are going on, when you begin teaching, these are the things that students begin. Your whole mind becomes. You begin thinking because you haven't done that before. You haven't done this before. That is why I brought in that introduction. The introduction would give you a general picture of what is taking place here, and when you take a critical look, you realize that many things in this chapter or in this section of this video is actually connecting to what we discussed, this lengthy discussion that we had with you the other day. And so that is it. So we will be looking at that. So this is a sort of like a discussion. Then after all discussions are done, like a lecture done, to get a general picture of what a chapter 1 will be like, how it looks like, what it is. We'll say an introduction, and so what is it? What does it entail? It's a then we bring works that I have personally done at a specific level, required a level that has gone through certain procedures. Then in that section, so we'll be looking at the introduction, and we'll be talking where we read things. Why this introduction? Why is it critical? How is it presented? What were the approaches and the methods employed? Why was this done? And so on and so forth. So today is like a sort of a lecture. So chapter 1, which is the introduction, in this section you tell a background. Remember, you have your topic already. There will be a whole section on topic, how to select a topic. Although a clue will be given here, we would use that clue that is given in this lecture to create a deeper idea or lecture to help you in selecting a topic. In that lecture too will be what we'll be calling question bank. Question bank will depend on who is your tutor, who is your institution, who are you, what are you doing, and where. Question bank and location depends on what you are doing, what they want, and how that is done. Is it going to be peer journal? Is something that you will publish? Is it that you are coming to conduct the full research? We will discuss these things. Those will also be a special lecture to look out for, because in those things, many things have been coined and many things, new, fresh information have been gathered which will be useful to you. But at the moment, we'll be doing chapter 1. So tell a background to the perceived issue identified. We'll go back to the main discussion. We look at the issue of the art teacher. We told you what the art teacher identified and what the art teacher was doing. So to get a grasp of chapter 1, to know, to be able to tell a background to a perceived issue identified, then you would most also be looking at the video number 2. So you tell a background to the perceived issue identify the problem. 2, tell the purpose and the significance of the study and the need of finding solutions. We told you yesterday in that video too that once you begin identify things, asking questions, then there's a likelihood that there is a problem. So now tell a background to the perceived problem, and then tell the purpose and significance of the study and the need of finding solutions. So once there's a problem, then we need to find a solution. Now, how to derive some backing to this statement? This statement that I have just two statements that I have just identified or I have brought forward as a way of trying to develop chapter 1, which is your introduction, how you attempt to develop that. Now, so to back that, where is this premise? So we go back to the art teacher. His premise or her premise would definitely be her classroom, her school, isn't it? So those are the things. When was this premise established? When was the premise established? And you might think it's silly, knowing the year the premise was established. How long is it? We'll be looking at very old-fashioned ways or some attitude, some behavior that might still be going on. It is something is there. So which era was this established, and what did it attract? What were the things that attracted this institution at that time, and why? So you'll be looking at it. When is it established? Is it that old? Have there been any reforms to make things up to this? And even if so, is it a challenge to break away from the old-fashioned or certain attitude and manner, and so on and so forth? And then what sector is it? So for example, is it a private owned? Is it a trust? Is it an association? Is it for the nation? Is it who runs it? You look at those things. For when you begin looking at these things too, would give you a clue about what the sector might look like. So you'll be able to discuss a few of these things. What does this premise offer? What are the constitutes of subjects? Are they varied? Is it very sensitive on? We know sometimes the wood in our world today, it will be focused on specific things. They will dwell too much on specific things. But when you look at our world today, the world is full of creation, isn't it? People are creating, but there will be some specific things that will be given or that they are insisting on, but how many of them would be able to use these when they get out of that premise? And people are creating without even college diploma, or without. People are doing all sorts of things. You see, nations, countries, entities. I mean, people are doing things differently and bringing in quality into it. So you look at what is there and what are the interests, what is the focus. So probably we'll be focusing on a specific constitute or component of subjects there, other than other things. So you look at that will also give you something in connection to your problems, identify, and gives you a good critical, sound judgment to continue discussing that population issues, general population, probably the whole premise. So a whole premise, how many are they? And then population of the parameter you are engaging. So for example, the art teacher was working with a total of 37 pupils. So what is his population? So then 37 pupils also tell us or let us know gender as how many girls or boys of this 37 total is also necessary, so that we would know whether the activities are also affecting specific issues regarding gender, or that why is the behavior, is the attitude, why. And so one of the examples I can give here with this is that in specific location would consider gender issues would even though it's sensitive though, but they would think, oh, since it is a girl, then it must be this, or since it is a boy, they must be doing this. So that you begin to identify that and know whether those things are playing a factor there. Then a track record from the day this premise was established to the date you are undertaking this study or research. So you'll find something there. Even if it was established in 900 BC or whatever, even before Christ, there will definitely be something there. There will definitely be information there, information talking about all that we are saying here. And then the track record, probably performance, or probably some behavior, something. So you look at that also. And then facilities, sections equipped enough. You look at facilities. What are the facilities there, and how are they managed? Are they relevant to things you are doing? What are they? Are the facilities also a barrier? All these things you'll be looking at it. What are the impediments identified? That is it. So after the facilities, are these challenges has something to do with these facilities, and so on, and so forth. So out of these, what have you identified? So what have you identified? So you've discussed all these things. You initially have a problem. You would now sometimes be realizing that your once you identify all these things, then you would really need to modify your problem, your statement of problem. So you realize that sometimes you pick a topic or you pick a problem and you keep modifying. But have in mind that it should have a bearing on what you are looking for and what you want to intervene or what you want to help and solve, other than just modifying things for modifying sake. It should suit your all these things that we have talked about. So what is identify? What have you identified as the inhibiting problem? So what have you identified? Then you state the identify problem that inhibit the task. So after discussing these things, it is quite okay to say, in this regard, or for these reasons, for that matter, I have decided to take this intervention or to take this study. So you could re-quote or you could restate your problem, your statement, your problem again, what you have identified. It could be a whole wording of your thesis or your research, and then you could quote that again. You could now see that things are flowing. You have done all these, you've looked at all these, and now you are very confident that it is because of this. So for that reason, you are going to take this study and then you test it out. And so it's exactly what the art teacher did. He took that study and he made a peer review, a self-critic, and then he was observing the students to telling and so on and so forth. So that and then you are introduction. So you are taking this problem. So tell a technique, and then from there you tell a technique. Once you've stated the problem, you tell a technique, won't you? To tell a technique employed to solve this problem. Is it question? Is it requesting? Is it asking? Is it peer review? What is it? What are the question? The technique you are going to employ to solve this problem, and how you intend to do it. So you tell, not just telling the techniques, but you tell the you tell us how that technique would use. So if you look at the video number 2, the conceptualization research, you will know that he employed self-evaluation as one of his technique. Peer review. They reviewed their own work and made their own judgment and made their own comment and came to settle with what they need doing, and it changed. So once you tell us, you would also tell us how you are going to do it. You describe how you are going to do it. Remember in the first video I told you, so pure research, you've been practicing how to make soups. You've done several of them, you keep practicing. It's a pure research. Now you want to do apply research. So now you have created things, recipes, instructions, directions to follow. Once that comes in, then you are now on the journey of apply research. But how are you going to put them together? Is it for an academic purpose? Is it a journal? Is it for books? Whatever. All these things are necessary. So you tell us how you are going to. So for example, the researcher can employ discussion and demonstration with some concepts and activities that could reveal the challenge for testing. So it is when you employ a technique, your thought or the information you are looking for will be properly revealed. It will be properly revealed such that you can then test it. So you then do that, demonstrate with some concepts and activities. So you tell us how, you demonstrate, you put something there, you post something. You could, in this juncture, you could also back it up with what is there already, who has also done the same, similar. Is there an institute? Is there an individual? Is there an author? Who else? Is there a research body? Is it a body? Is it an authority who has also done it? You could be backing up, and therefore you are confident that employing these techniques that you would be able to attempt to solve that issue at hand. So that is it. So it will, the technique that you have employed and telling how you do it should always reveal something. It will reveal something, and then afterwards tell your revelation as is. Tell your revelation as is. When we say tell your revelation as is, we also look at the bias and the sensitivity and all those. But though, tell them as is. And revisit the last model we discussed earlier. What were the response? What actually did not work, etc. Those were the last models we were telling you. So you then find you've begun already. So you are now at this juncture. You then discuss. If possible, even though you have it is just an introduction, you'll be then telling us the possible or the things that you would be looking at. Remember, your introduction would then at the final conclusion bit, your discussion, the methodology, there should also link. Your introduction should link. So you'll be telling us all these things there. Now, tell the cause of this revelation. What caused it? What caused it? By observing participant own judgment and comments. So your tools and your techniques would also then be revealing the causes, because at this time they have done something. The students, let's take the art student for example, they have done peer critic, they've done that, and then they know the causes of their problems. So that is it. And then the causes come to determine possible cause will be a revelation via observing participant own judgment and comments. And then critical analysis will mean giving a full account or a full picture of the sequence of events or of the cause of these challenges identified. So once you are able to give a full account, you are trying to compare things, you are trying to give a clear account, a full picture leading to the problem identified, trying to also pin your work to things that are there already, existing works that are also probably looking at the same area. You'd notice that some criticality are being formed. What are the criticality? Criticality would be explained to details when we go back and then start giving you an example of how a chapter 1 was developed. Actually, this is just a lecture, so the criticality will emerge. Now, to discuss your intervention, what you shall plan and to solve the issues. And so to discuss your intervention, what you shall plan to solve. So when we know what interventions are, what you have planning, what you have identified, what you have planned, and what you want to do, and to solve the problem. So you repose the statement of the problem and discuss into details, often connecting your discussion to the former things discussed earlier. For example, when was this premise established? For example, could that have been a problem? So you begin linking things. What is the population, etc. In that, a good woven discussion would then lead to criticality, to challenge the statement of the problem for clearer attention, and also for a more vibrant or a more introduction that echoes, that once somebody reads it, they would really want to see what is taking place in the remaining chapter or the other areas. So in that, this is how criticality you attempt to develop, not just with the things you have collected and you're trying to connect, but will be more critical when you are also looking at things. Could it that somebody have said something that states that without this it's possible, but now you are now identified that even with that it's still not possible, it's not working, and so there brings in a criticality, there brings your however and also the way to choose certain words, unfortunately, or in this regard or that matter, this and so on, so that it becomes critical. Now, discuss your interventions, tell its purpose. So your intervention, tell its purpose and how the intervention shall help remedy and help develop a better quality task. So the intervention should also be discussed. We said that already. Tell us. Remember in the very second video, we were telling you about the models, what these things will do, what interventions are, how to plan them, what they do, how to dwell on reflective practices, and how to use other techniques. So you discuss the intervention and how it can help to develop a better quality task about the problem, the statement of the problem, what you have identified, and then clearly state your objectives for the study. Now at this point, you would then be stating your objectives. Remember, you have moved from a pure research when you began practicing on your own or attempting to do things, find why is there, or you are attending lectures, it is your pure research, you are learning, you are studying, but now you are going to apply all these. So this lecture, the next chapter 1 introduction, we are going to apply all this lecture and then to discuss how it is actually done. So now we would use specific strategies and then reveal how it is properly developed. But now we are just, so that is it. So you tell the purpose and then clearly state your objectives. So, for example, identify causes and find some interventional strategies to improve upon them, etc. So it could be one of the objectives. You identify causes. Yes, it is. So from the beginning, all these things that you have listed there will help you identify a cause of a problem, isn't it? Many will be hypothetical statements, but we dwell on, yes, the hypothetical statement would then lead you to a specific objective, whether they are viable itself. So a hypothetical statement, for example, is you went out to town and you came, but when you came in, all your lighting systems are off, but the whole community, everybody has light. So first, your tactical question will be, what sort of meter am I on? Am I on a prepaid meter, or is the fuse blown? You'll be asking so many questions. Are the lights off? Because always your front light is always on, but this time when you came, it was not there. Can I change the bulb? It is when you change the bulb, you've noticed that, it is not all those things that you were talking about, but it was rather the bulb is gone, it's off, it's broken, so you've brought in a new, or you've changed the bulb and it's not working. You've checked your meter, there's nothing wrong with the meter, then there is something for further there is a sophistication somewhere, or there is a funny, there's a strange. So, and those were the last models. So, it's not working, is that, then there will be further analysis. So you hypothetical statement also, when you begin asking yourself this hypothetical statement yourself, also help you to then with all the information we discussed from the beginning, very first beginning, the things to be looking, the things that backs them, then the hypothetical statement will quietly then lead you to state a very viable or a measurable or a very good objective statement, and that is it. And then clearly state your research question. Example: how will how would clearly state your research question. So, example, how will demonstration activities help participants acquire this fresh skill to remedy the problem you have identified? So, how will they? It's a question. You have stated a question. Even with that question too that you have stated, it will, how will. So, we go back to the art teacher. How will this help? So, you know that the art teacher, it was questionnaire peer review that helped, that he identified solutions to his problem. So, and that then clearly state the significance of the study. Example: it shall aid researcher improve, gain insight to best practices or much better ways to blah 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 and so on and so forth. So there, we go back to the video number 2. The art teacher he then came terms to realize that although the curriculum is telling us this, it is good, it's helping, but I don't have the time frame, is not here, the resources are this and that, but we are getting the same skill, but if we go it that way, it's much better. The time allocated for this specific activity, blah blah blah, students, this behavior, that be, and so on and so forth. So you clearly state the significance of the state. Example: it shall aid. So the researcher to improve. So it aids you to develop thoughts. You are adding things, not creating new curriculum. You are adding several ways of solving problems that sometimes might seem unsolvable or are not properly cannot be solved, or are sketchy, or that the things are there, they are given though, but they are not working. But you need to navigate. You need something to work. You need to improve on something. So you clearly state the significance. And for example, that's what the example I've given. Now, a discussion in doing these effectively provide concrete evidence, often with some backup, including some statistics, numeric terms, or evidence taken from the following data. Collections, interviews, peer review. We go back to the art teacher. peer review chat quizzes class and chase mock exams records. They often cause some of these problems, and so with the case of the action research, what mock exams were made available for this art student, and how were they dealt with? What are the theories or the mode of these mock exams? Yes, they are mock exams, but are they in line with what they do elsewhere? And sometimes many of these things are linked to when mock. So you also consult the mock exams records, for they often cause the problem. And you can, with mock exams, you can investigate. One of the things you might not be able to investigate, though, will be attendance and absenteeism when we come to this sort of research things. That will be left for specific authorities or institutions to attempt to do that. But as a teacher, when you want to investigate, I don't think this will be viable. It is not really, but with the mock exams, statistics have shown that they are often the causes of many of these issues and problems, and may have a direct cause to the problem that you are even looking at, your statement of problem, or may be quietly giving clues or pointers to things that are backing the things we discussed earlier after giving those two statements from the beginning. If mock exams are not taken seriously and organized properly, they could also be it will also lead to your identifier problems. That is all that we are trying to say. Know that your interventions and objectives are closely related. We do, or what we call they work hand in hand. They interchangeably, and so what it simply means is that if you do not look at, you do not plan the model, you don't model or modify or create a very good interventions, then the objectives will be affected, because they work hand in hand. So the interventions, when done properly, they support your objectives. Remember, your objectives are the stronger what you are looking for, so that at the end of that study you expect young people to participate more. You expect young people to be able to perform these tasks regardless of those hurdles or those issues that are there. So once you do a very good intervention, and then your objective. So when you get to this section, you should pay attention, for they should work hand in hand. They should flow. They should be connecting to each other. So at this point, often check these areas when you get to where you are discussing your intervention, your objectives, and all. You check areas to ensure correlation in that. When done properly, the listed interventions may result in organizational structure to reveal a change in curriculum, the social change. We discuss all these things. It adds value to them, their attitude, their manner, their behavior. It even helps behavior, and that is really true. This is not just a lecture, but this is a whole experience. Sometimes these strategies they then come to realize that no, it is really something important that probably on the way it was presented, or how the culture was, or how the behavior was, or how the attitude was, or what was presented to them earlier, or what they know, that is not what it is. But there are more to that, and so it changes. And so a correlation in that, when done properly, the listed interventions may result in organization structure to reveal a change. So it will affect your own statement of problem again in a school curriculum. Yes. So there you realize that it could change something. It could add a value to what probably was a problem you derive from that track record. The social change, it will bring a change, and I have seen that before this is a situation whereby socially that premises were viewed. For once, it was viewed differently because something has changed to the positive. Then that is what we are talking about here, and the maintenance of the statu quo, and so on and so forth. A well-drafted, so all of you are saying, a well-drafted interventions are met in that you shall achieve your objective. So when you draft your interventions, what you need doing, as we discussed earlier, they are met in that you shall achieve your objectives, i.e., the intervention is met or derived, or if devised properly, if you derive them from the right sources and you devise them properly, it helps you to achieve your stated objectives. Yes, you are able to, things begins to flow. It's a tedious work though, but you won't struggle that much. It help you to achieve the stated objectives, because even when you have to modify something, you know that the interventions are devised properly, and know that it is the feedback from the intervention that can be translated into modification. So always remember, once you are writing all these things, also know that it is the feedback from the interventions that can be translated into modification of your study. And so these were the things we were talking about in the second video when the art teacher, the last module, so the art teacher knows what to change when he begins teaching card making, practical card making. He knows, the students themselves know attitudes that need changing, that what they need doing, all these things. So that is it. So then it is all because of the feedback he was getting from the peer review. He has observed. He was there observing. They were reviewing their own work. They were criticizing their own work. They were discussing things there. They were getting information, and so we discuss. If you go to the video number 2, that is, all these things are there. So the art teacher would get that from the feedback from your techniques, the feedback of your techniques from the intervention, the techniques you employ to and then the interventions and how you discuss them can be translated into modification of your study. So you realize that each time, day in, day out, you are modifying something. You're modifying something from one level to the other. You are elevating to a more higher sense for adjusting, and also it determines changes of barriers and or redefining of the statement of the problem. So when you are concluding too, that also helps you to adjust. So chapter 1, which is the introduction, and then developing an introduction for a research study, attempting to conduct a research, your own personal one. This is the lecture for chapter 1. We today I had wanted to come live streaming. So in live streaming, if this is a lecture, if this is a lecture hall, what it is that when questions are coming, more things are explained deeper, and when questions are coming, when people are engaging, then people we know professionally or to wise decision, we decided to come live streaming, but none of those would work at the moment. So that is it. So when the chapters are dealt with detail or deeply like this, it allows the student. So they also ask questions. They have the note they've prepared, and even when they are even supposed to look at a structure somewhere, see how it is done, which we will do. They have the concepts already, and the independence is achieved, and it helps greatly. But many of these things we are lacking. They are lacking. We are lacking them often. We lack these things. So at this platform, these are the things we'll be looking at. We'll also be thinking whether we would be able to, in the next section, will be the actual development, what is there already, and that will be discussed, or that we carry on with the lecture till all systematic things are discussed, what it includes, and the skills and ideas being, and the secrets being revealed, and then we go back again, and then we then begin gradually. And this platform won't be just this. A lot of activities will come to play. It will bring things across board which will be useful to you. Like the page, ask your friends to subscribe, ask your friends to also join and come to listen, for we know it will do them great. They don't really have to be in college. Remember, ideas are there, but how do we put them together? Together we learn. And so for the confusion or for the barriers encountered today for not being able to live stream, we say leave us a wholesome comment or a question. If there is something that is not properly deeply, or if there are concerns, leave us a question in the pool there, and we will answer to them. Thank you for joining, and thank you for coming. You are almost welcome all the time. Do ask questions and ask of anything you would wish that the community won't won't scream. We'll see you some other time. Bless you. Bye.